Okay, well, some of you guys have had me before in Biology A, first semester. But some of you guys might be having me for the first time, you lucky dogs. So, anyways, this is how my mini lessons will go. I'm just going to go over kind of the main gist over in your section. So, this is covering Unit 1, Section 1. Okay, so we are starting Unit 1. But I want you guys to know that I'm hoping you guys are going to use these mini lessons in conjunction with reading through your lesson and taking notes. There are so many details, kind of an overwhelming amount of details. So I'm hoping that you guys actually take the time to watch these, then go back and look through your lesson, and hopefully some of that stuff is going to make sense. So I'm talking more the general sense, want to give you guys a good kind of a background for this stuff, and then you can hopefully understand more of the details. Okay? So, yes, we are beginning. All right, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is fossils. So I've got a quick video to show you guys to start us off. You guys are going to get used to a lot of YouTube videos. All right, so I have kids, and we watch Phineas and Ferb, and I found this perfect clip to intro our fossils.
Fossils. Da, da, da. 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 Fossils.
All right, who knows? Yeah, I actually didn't see that episode, so I can't really give you the background behind that. Maybe some of you guys have. But nonetheless, we are talking about fossils, okay? Fossils are pretty cool. Actually, I think they're really cool when you think about, can you imagine if you stumbled across a fossil? I mean, how stinking cool. And I love these pictures, so of course, I will always find crazy images for you guys. These I found on Google, because all my images come from Google. And, yep, so these are fossils for some of you guys. Now, I grew up with the cassette. Yep. And then good old, actually, this is the controller that I used was either the Atari, the old Atari with just a joystick and the red button, you know, yeah, that was about it. And the first and original Nintendo. So that was even like a little after my time. So let's talk about fossils in depth. All right, what happened before? So basically, long time ago, and that's what obviously fossils are so great, is they are telling us a little bit about the past. They are traces of things that happened long ago, which is kind of cool that if we didn't have fossils, there would be so many things that we didn't know. So you guys have to know that fossils really bring a lot of evidence and information to what we know, what happened way back when. Plants and animals can become fossils, so it's not just animals. A lot of times people just think of the animals as fossils, but there are a lot of plant fossils as well, okay? We've only discovered a really teeny amount of the plants and animals from the past. There are so many species that have yet to be discovered, and we're still discovering them as we go. So it's kind of crazy that we think, oh yeah, we figured it out, we know what existed, but no, actually we have only come up with kind of maybe a few of the species. I should say few, but maybe thousands upon thousands, but there were millions of different species, okay? Fossils are not the original. They're only a copy. So I think most of you guys kind of know that when you find a fossil, most of the time, like 98% of the time, you're not finding the original creature there, okay? You might find some bones, which could be the original, but for the most part, they're only a copy of what that species might have looked like, or, you know, whatever is being fossilized, okay? So what is it? The actual definition. So a fossil is an impression or a cast of the original material or track of any animal or plant that's preserved in rock after the original organic material has been transformed or removed. Okay, sometimes it's transformed into different sediment, different rock types. Most of the time it's just removed, you know, over time it's just kind of disintegrated. So basically it's what's left over after that happens. That's what a fossil is, okay? So there are many different types of fossils. Let's go through some of them. But a fossil may be an actual original skeleton or a shell. Okay, so these are actually considered fossils. Okay, also a mold or a cast. So just like this picture is showing, if you're to stick your hand in a bunch of cement, you know, anytime you guys see like wet cement, it's so tempting. You just want to stick your hand in there. I've done it, believe me. That's just a mold or a cast, but that can be a fossil as well. Material that's replaced the once living thing. So this may look like the bones, but this is actually material that has replaced those bones that have, obviously disintegrated over time. So that also is a fossil. Traces such as footprints or worm tubes, interesting, right? So these two are different types of fossils. This one, if you guys, any of you guys live near Morrison or Lakewood, which I lived in Lakewood for a long time. If you guys have been to Dinosaur Ridge, these are actually from there, and I've got some more footprints to show you guys. These footprints are down near La Junta. I've actually seen these as well. So it's kind of cool. There are tons of actual fossils and trace fossils found in Colorado. So, by the way, did you know that the state dinosaur is the Stegosaurus, and that the first Stegosaurus the first Stegosaurus fossil were found in Colorado? So kind of cool. I think near Grand Junction. So, what conditions promote fossilization? So you're thinking, okay, cool, great, we got all these fossils. Yeah. How do we get them? How does that happen? Okay, well, a couple things. Hard body parts such as skeletal bones or exoskeletons basically preserve and kind of create that mold or that cast. They don't necessarily preserve the the organic material within, but they kind of preserve whatever that shape is, and then stuff can kind of form over it to form a cast or a mold. Also, rapid burial and or lack of oxygen. So all of a sudden, maybe there's a volcanic eruption and you have this massive burial of, species that have, rock and ash and all the stuff that has been layered upon them. So basically, quick burial, quick death, lack of oxygen. All of those can cause fossilization as well, okay? So different fossil types. I want you guys to remember these. You might see this on your test, okay? Body fossils. Actual parts of an organism, unaltered or altered bones, shells, leaf, imprints, okay? Those are body fossils. So when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Parts of the body, basically, parts of the organism. Okay, here are some examples. You've got lovely shells, which actually end up being body fossils. You have the bones here, and again, some more body fossils that are shown right there. So trace fossils, basically evidence of life that is not a body fossil. So kind of almost everything else, like tracks, which are impressions of passage of living things, burrows, and casts. So here's a great picture. Again, this is down near La Junta, but this is Dinosaur Ridge. So if you guys are ever up, you should take a look because there's just tons of dinosaur prints. Really cool trace fossils, okay? So, awesome stuff right in our state. Woohoo! Okay, what are the modes of fossil preservation for body fossils? Well, unaltered, okay? So basically that makes sense when you think of original material, unaltered. So original unaltered material from the living organism, unaltered bone as well, okay? The same with the shell. You have incrustations or entombments, okay? Material that's trapped inside a coating such as amber. So we all remember Jurassic Park, right? Where you had that mosquito that was trapped in amber. So amber is kind of a common thing where things can be preserved within it. So it just depends on what it is, but a lot of early species have been trapped in something such as amber and other types of things. Okay, I got some cool pictures for you. Any of you guys who like the gross stuff? Yeah. I don't know what it is, the fascination with mummies, but when you see a real mummy, I mean, gross. Like, you've always wanted to be like, what does that thing look like under all that wrapping? Okay, but how are some of the fossils preserved? Well, mummification is one. Quickly dried. So mummies are typically kind of dried, they are left to dry out. Okay, so that's why they can be preserved for so long, and then they're obviously wrapped up. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine like seeing that for reals? A real mummy? Scary, crazy, weird. Okay, also refrigeration. Here's another pretty picture, right? Hopefully none of you guys are eating dinner. Yummy, yummy. No, refrigeration, obviously we even know that by using our own refrigerators. They do help to preserve, but even in fossil preservation, okay? Materials trapped inside ice and tissue is preserved, kind of like cryotherapy, okay? So basically, I mean, it's not pretty, but it is preserved, right? All right, more on trace fossils. So let's go over quickly the difference between a mold and a cast. A mold is the reproduction of the inside or outside surface of a living thing, okay? So basically you have kind of, exactly what it was, but not of the same material. So you have these shells. You might have a creature that it looks like the creature, but it's just basically a mold of it. It does not contain that original material. But a cast is a duplicate of the original organism, usually formed by replacement of the inside of the living thing. Okay, so those are slight differences, but nonetheless, you have a little bit of a difference between a mold and a cast. Okay? Alright, so I've got another video to show you guys. I love, when you think about all of the history, and I'm not talking about, history, I'm talking about billions of years ago. It's pretty cool to find this stuff. So even in our own very state, so maybe under your house, start digging, you might find some fossils. No, just kidding. But now this is a funny video. I mean, funny in that it is like a sales pitch, but it's pretty cool. So disregard the sales pitch, but just notice what some parts of our actual state have to offer. All right, here we go.
Discover the remnants of ancient life at Gateway Canyons.
This is the classic look of the Colorado Plateau country, the Canyonland, just like the Grand Canyon, like Monument Valley. But this is Gateway, Colorado, famous not only for its scenic vistas, but also for the pathways of the dinosaurs that moved through this region millions of years ago.
With one gaze up these cliffs, you can soar through 350 million years of time. Near the top of the cliffs, there's a layer which is about 65 to 150 million years ago, and it's called the Morrison layer. And there's where you'll find the dinosaur fossils.
All around Gateway, buried deep within the Morrison Formation, are remnants of ancient life. Many of these fossils were deposited during the Jurassic periods of geological time, some even as old as 200 million years ago. Only rarely will you walk far in the Morrison Formation and not see some sign of ancient life. Clamshell casts, invertebrate traces, small pieces of bone, and to some degree, petrified wood fragments are not uncommon. In fact, the diversity of vertebrate fossils that have been found in the formation over the last 125 years is impressive.
When the geology of this country laid down and it rose and fell, and the seas receded and the rivers came, it accepted the footprints of many, many dinosaurs, like the Megalosaurus and the little gray later, a three-toed predator that left thousands of little tiny tracks.
Unlike the fossilized bones of giant dinosaurs, dinosaur tracks record a moment in time when these magnificent creatures were breathing and moving and hunting and very much alive.
Mud would fill those tracks, and over years and years and years, over millennia, they hardened and became the fossil footprints that we could see today in this gorgeous valley just at Gateway.
Fossil research actively continues today in and around the Gateway region. For more information about all that Gateway Canyons has to offer, call the resort at 970-931-2458 or toll free at 86.
Okay, we don't need to hear any more of that. But it is kind of a sales pitch. But hey, come on, if you're interested in fossils, why not? So pretty cool place, Gateway. I'd actually never really heard of Gateway, but it does look very pretty. So maybe someday I'll go there. Maybe we can take a field trip. I think it's kind of far, but I'll still go. Okay, so fossil dating. We're going to go over some fossil dating in our next part, so stay tuned. I don't want to make my little mini lessons too long because then you start to lose interest. And maybe you don't need to hear about fossil dating, but maybe you do. So stay tuned for part 2.